achieved.
There are rumors floating around the internet that we are possibly going to see, and I won't believe it until I see it, we are possibly going to see Floyd Mayweather Jr. make the crossover to mixed martial arts and take on former WWE superstar and 0-1 MMA fighter CM Punk. Now, from a purely MMA standpoint, I guess I could make that work. You've got an 0-1 fighter taking on an 0-0 fighter. That's interesting. But this is not what we're dealing with here. We've got a 50-0 boxer taking on a former pro wrestler, if you will. Wrestler, not wrestler, wrestler. And the thing is, it's probably going to do big buys. It'll definitely be on a pay-per-view. If it headlines a pay-per-view, well, I'd be upset with that. I wouldn't mind to see it as like the third fight on a pay-per-view. You know, big main event, good co-main event. You want to put that one on the pay-per-view? Absolutely, you could draw people in. You're going to sell buys based on that fight alone. But quite honestly, it's a direction that the UFC should not be going in. It's a freak show fight. You know, I would be more okay with Floyd Mayweather Jr. taking on a low-level guy who's got like a 3-3 record or something like that in a fight than I would CM Punk. I don't know. I just don't have a bad. As much as I like CM Punk, the thought of the guy wanting to do something, going out and chasing his dreams and accomplishing it, I want to see CM Punk go and develop his combat background on the lower levels. Go to another promotion and see what he can come up with. Floyd Mayweather is a combat competitor. He should be able to light CM Punk up. But I don't like the freak show nature of it. I think it's really something the UFC should not be looking at. You want to get back to champions, guys working their way up the ladder, setting up title fights, and just building on that, and building new stars, not necessarily creating these freak show scenarios that are going to draw people in for a short while, instead of building your fan base over a long period of time by developing and showing them fighters that they can follow and get attached to, and watching them take a shot at the title. That's just me, but hey, I'll watch. No denying that, I will watch. Welcome back to Kamikaze Overdrive MMA Predictions. As always, I am your host, Scott Johnson. And on this episode of the show, we are breaking down the upcoming UFC Fight Night 126 event, which will take place live in Austin, Texas. I'll give you my predictions for all 6 main card fights. All of my preliminary breakdowns will be available at kamikazeoverdrive.net. My bet packs will be available, and oh boy, have they been on fire. Now, UFC 221, I went 7-5. It didn't help that I went 2-3 on the main card. I needed a win here or there to really pump things up, but my bet pack still produced. My big bankroll, 55.48 units won. My big rewards parlay, 68.36 units won. Huge. So now if you go back for the first 5 events of 2018, as a predictor, I am 42-15. That's 74%. Usually predictors are in that 62 to 66% range. I'm clicking at 74. Still got a long way to go, but still very happy with that. As far as my money is concerned, and again, people are going to say, oh, you don't do the third-party betting site. I don't. I do it differently. That's just what I do. If you don't like it, you don't have to buy it. My big bankroll for parlays I build for people who have a lot of money and want to bet a lot of money on just a fight or two here or there, a couple, one leg, 2 legs. It has won 231.09 units over the first 5 events of the year. My big risk, big reward bundle, which is for people who, like I say, might have $100, $150, are using units, $2 units, $5 units, maybe $10 units at the max. It has produced 318.87 units in winnings. That's huge. That's absolutely massive. Can I keep this up? Absolutely not. Am I going to try? Fuck yeah, I'm going to try. I've changed the way I look at fights. I've changed the way I'm breaking things down. I'm evaluating them differently, and we're going to go at it and see what we can come up with. Now, I do apologize for the delay in getting this show out. It's taken me a little bit longer than normal. I'm a little bit behind. Now, thankfully, the show takes place on a Sunday, not a Saturday, so that's worth noting as well. But, yeah, we are going at it hard again. And on that note, let's get to my first prediction of the evening. We open things up in the UFC's lightweight division as Super Sage Northcutt, 9 wins and 2 losses, back in action taking on France's own Thibault GT Gouti with a record of 11 wins and 3 losses. Now, the first thing we look at here is Northcutt's coming off a win over Michel Quinones. He started this UFC career 2-0, but he has alternated wins and losses over his last 4 fights. For Gouti, he started his UFC career with a dismal 0-3 mark, including a trio of stoppage defeats, before scoring a very big TKO victory over Holbrook in his last appearance. That's a big fight that's pretty much saved his UFC run. Physically, Northcutt, he's staying at lightweight now. He's been going back and forth between lightweight and welterweight, and welterweights just seem to be too big for the man. I think this is a good move for him to stay at lightweight. He's 2 inches taller. Gouti will have a 1-inch reach advantage, and Super Sage is the younger man by 9 years. And it's worth noting, Sage Northcutt, born in Texas. We're fighting in Texas. This is absolutely a showcase fight for the Texan. Now, both fighters have clear vulnerabilities. There's no denying that. Northcutt has been submitted in both of his UFC defeats, and he's given up 9 takedowns over his UFC run. For Gouti, he has 6 wins by submission, something he certainly could look to exploit here. His last one came outside of the UFC back in 2014. It's worth noting, though, he has absolutely 0 takedowns since entering into the octagon, so wrestling has not been his forte. Conversely, for Gouti, he has been finished in all 3 of his UFC losses. 1 TKO defeat, 2 rear naked choke submission losses. Northcutt, 4 knockout victories, 3 submission victories. He can finish you in both ways. Gouti comes from a striking background, but most of his success on the regional scene came on the mats. There's no denying that. 3 of his 4 UFC fights have ended in round 1, so it is hard to gauge where he's at. The 3 losses, all stoppage defeats, certainly a little bit concerning. But again, it's what's the guy really capable of when he gets his footing under him? And maybe it all takes this one victory to get him going. He does move fairly well when he strikes. He throws a nice left jab. He keeps it out to gauge distance. He'll double and triple it up while sliding off to the side, which is a nice technique. I really liked it when I saw that out of him. He throws a good straight right hand. He dropped Holbrook with a head kick, good ground and pound, and eventually swarmed him for the finish along the cage. He is willing to stand and trade. He was getting cracked by Holbrook in that fight, and when you look at his numbers, again, 3 first-round losses, including a TKO stoppage, so his numbers aren't great. He averages 3.91 strikes landed per minute versus 4.7 strikes absorbed per minute, so he's getting hit more than he actually hits his opponents. But again, he's been on the losing end of a lot of the exchanges in recent fights. Now, for Northcutt, he is very much still learning the grappling aspect of the game. Both his takedown defense and his counter-grappling, once taken down, are areas of vulnerability. Now, he's a very capable striker, comes from that kickboxing and karate background, offers a lot of variety. He's very powerful. He's very quick with his offense. When he fought Canones, he came out much more aggressive, and that's something a lot of people are saying he's not nasty enough for all his skill. He's not aggressive enough. He's got a nice smile. He's got great abs, but he's not nasty enough, not willing to get in there and just throw. Now, he offers a lot of, I said, when he comes out, he's aggressive. He can attack, he can counter, but just generally speaking, be more aggressive. He seemed, and in this fight, he seems for the rounds, very, very quickly in their face, push, and then he retracted back a little bit and settled into a regular pace, which if that's what works for him, it's not going to gas him up. That's huge. Now, I think the pressure combined with his movement, his speed, some of the fakes he mixes in, and generally speaking, the variety he throws makes him difficult to defend against once he finds his groove, especially if he can keep the fight standing. I think they're still looking to develop Sage. He's incredibly young. He's incredibly gifted. He's incredibly talented. The fact he's fighting at home, they want to showcase, and that's what this type of fight is. Gouti has submission skills. He's shown no wrestling and less than an ironclad chin, just a lack of durability in general. He will most likely stand and trade with Sage on the feet. Sage might even consider a takedown of his own and try and exploit some of Gouti's issues on the mat. I think Sage's striking is going to be too much here, and my prediction is Sage Northcutt to defeat Thibault Gouti by TKO. Fight number 2 in the main card has undergone a number of changes. It will take place in the UFC's featherweight division as Steven Ocho Peterson, 15 wins and 6 losses, takes on Brandon Killer B. Davis, 8 wins, 3 defeats for Davis coming into this fight. This fight has taken a short notice bump to the main card with the Aguilera Souza card being scratched. These guys get an opportunity to shine in the main card of the event. Davis is returning after just a month off from his debut loss to Kyle Bochniak. Davis took his fight on a week's notice as the original opponent for Peterson had to pull out. Now, Peterson is a Texas native. That's huge. He's a longtime LFA and LFC competitor, former bantamweight champion. He did lose a split decision to Benitez. What the fuck was his name? The guy, the golden boy. Whatever. I'm going to keep going. On the Contender Series. Lost that fight. It was a close fight. Very good, entertaining fight, but he lost it. Davis comes in this matchup. He did win his Contender Series bout, but in a decision victory for Austin Arnett, who just got finished making his UFC debut. Davis then turned around and lost his first fight in Bochniak. Didn't look overly good in it either, which was disappointing. I picked him. Both guys 5'10", 3-inch reach advantage for Davis. Only 3 weeks separate them in birth. They're almost born on the exact same day. It's incredible. Now, Davis landed more strikes in the Bochniak fight, 38-33, but really struggled to find him in the cage. Bochniak used a lot of lateral movement, refusing to slug it out with Davis and not fight his fight. Davis is at his best when he can press forward, land hard combinations, back his foe up, and just be the aggressor, be the bully, if you will. He appears to be the death by accumulation style striker, not the one-punch knockout guy. Now for Peterson, on his record, 7 wins by knockout, a couple of rear naked chokes. He does have a 2012 omoplata on his record, very impressive there. He has 5 wins by knockout to go along with a single KO defeat. He is 4-5 in fights that go the distance. That number's a bit concerning. Now his primary focus is on moving forward, clinching up with his opponent, and trying to drag him to the ground with body lock takedowns, trip takedowns, whatever he can get that'll work. Now, the problem there is that he has a tendency to forego his defense when electing to close the distance and recklessly, he just recklessly pushes forward. Each shot's, doesn't want to get hit, but he's willing to get hit to get in range. He does have a good chin. He's eaten some big shots in the past and survived. How long you want to press that, I don't know, especially at this level. Davis did give up 3 takedowns against Bochniak, but he's able to scramble back up to his feet. He needs to do that here again, and then go on the offensive once he gets vertical. Peterson will use that polar opposite approach to Bochniak. He's going to move forward and right into the firing zone for Davis. Davis is going to like that. I think Davis will use a lot of volume early on and really put it on Peterson, and my prediction is Brandon Davis defeats Steven Peterson by TKO. Fight number 3 in the welterweight division has the promise of a slugfest as the former title challenger Thiago Alves, 27 wins and 11 losses, takes on the debuting Curtis Millender with a current record of 14 wins and 3 losses. I don't know if I'm actually butchering that, but it quite possibly could be pronounced entirely different, but we'll go with Millender for now. Now, taking a quick peek here, Alves is coming off the best performance in recent memory. He battered Patrick Cote and busted him up. He was supposed to fight Zach Cummings. In a fight, I had picking Alves to win as an underdog. The fight fell through, so now we have him here. Millender's won 6 fights in a row, including 1 in Bellator. He won 3 in LFA. Now, he did have a 2-2 run in Bellator before losing to Brendan Ward and Fernando Gonzalez. Both fights lost, I think, by submission. He is 6'3", making him 6 inches taller than Thiago Alves, and he's the younger fighter by 4 years. Now, Millender comes from a kickboxing background. He's showed improving power of late with 3 knockouts in his last 4 fights, versus 2 in his opening 13. Now, the key to success has been to keep the fight standing. Both his losses in Bellator came by submission. He needs to use his length here and pressure Alves, keep Alves on his back foot, don't allow him to set up his offense. Millender's at his best when he's pushing forward, attacking. He covers distance fairly well, and it adds to his power. He really steps into his offense. He has some good knee strikes. He loves that left hot leg high kick. Unfortunately, at times he tends to look for it a little too often. He keeps throwing it until it lands, and a lot of times it doesn't land because his opponent starts to recognize when it's coming. He does, as he gets a little tired, limited setup when he does attack, tends to throw a lot of naked strikes, and that's not a good thing against a very capable striker like Thiago Alves. Alves is very talented. He's a dangerous Muay Thai striker. 12 wins by knockout. His last come at UFC 183 against Jordan Meehan. Most dangerous part of his offense are his kicks by far, especially his low kicks. He landed 27 low kicks against Patrick Cote, had him limping around the cage, 52 against Seth Pazinski, and I can't imagine he won't be targeting low kicks here against a very tall, rangy opponent. When he took out Jordan Meehan, he stopped him with a body kick, showed good technique. He really turns his hips over whenever he throws any kicking techniques, and just amplifies the impact of those offensive techniques. His hands are fairly quick. He chambers his punches exceptionally well, really uptight and square when he throws them. He can counter strike, and again, watch for his knee strikes, flying knees, stepping knees. He can throw them at all times. When he fought Meehan, he did have some issues with Meehan's reach, was having trouble getting in on the inside. He eventually landed that big shot that ended the fight. He'll have to find a way to get in the inside here against a longer opponent without taking much damage. He has had success doing that in the past, though. Takedowns have been an issue for him, so is his cardio. He actually could look to turn that around today on his opponent. He can look for takedowns, look to really wear him out, grind him out, put him on the mat, and tire out his opponent who's wants to stand and strike. Arguably, I like Alves' slightly more technical approach. He looked good versus Cote. He needs to set up his strikes a little bit better in this matchup. Look for him to attack the legs, take Millender's base away, slow him down, and my prediction is Thiago Alves to defeat Curtis Millender by decision. Fight number 4 in the main card certainly will have the fans buzzing as the Texecutioner, Texas native, the number 12th ranked James Vick, 12 wins and 1 loss, takes on the 14th ranked Francisco Mazranduba Trinaldo, 22 wins and 5 losses. This fight, of course, taking place in the UFC's 155-pound division. Vick comes in having won 3 consecutive fights since suffering the first loss of his pro career. All of his wins recently have come by stoppage, including an upset of Joseph Duffy. He is 8-1 overall in his UFC run. He's fighting at home in Texas, as I said, where he is 3-0 inside the octagon, things are rolling for Mr. James Vick. For Francisco Trinaldo, he is back in the win column after a 7-fight winning streak was snapped, where he was finished by Kevin Lee. This is a key fight for him. If he wins this fight, he regains a huge upset over a very talented and young fighter, gets him back on a winning streak, and he moves back. He regains some of that momentum, some of that shine he lost with the Lee fight. Vick, physically 6'3", he's a massive man for the division. He is 6 inches taller than Trinaldo. He'll also have a 6-inch reach advantage, and he is the younger man by 9 years. Trinaldo comes to this matchup, the guy's 39 years old. That's old for this division. He had a huge run, but he got finished. He did, he's coming off a win where he beat a big but relatively faded name in Jim Miller. Has he hit his ceiling? Has he hit that point where the competition's too young for him at this level? Is he aging a bit, and his streak is it came too late in his career? We'll find out here. I think it's a big fight, a big crossroads fight for Trinaldo. Vick, he's a fighter on the cusp, but a setback here could knock him down a peg or two, really hurt his chances of moving forward. He's still young, though. I think he'll recover, but still, it's a big setback. Trinaldo has finished just 2 of his last 8 wins. He has 6 wins by decision, so he's not really putting a lot of guys away. He throws with power, he can do damage, but ultimately his success has come because of improved cardio, and it's allowed him to increase his output. He averages 3.41 strikes land per minute. He can push harder and attack more without actually gassing himself out. He's got good power in his right hand, throws a decent left jab. He will target the body with a lot of his offense. Throws some hard low kicks, knees in close. He hurt Lee late in round number 1 when he attacked him. Nearly got him there. That would have just been a huge victory for him. He will rely heavily on a clinch-heavy attack game. He will look for takedowns once he controls his opponent on the cage and can establish that. If not, it's short strikes to beat him up. I like his use of pressure to really back opponents up, keeps attacking, and he can do a lot of damage, as I said, if he does unload and connect. His takedown defense has improved. In his last 4 fights, he's landed 4 takedowns and given up only 2. Prior to that, he had given up 12 takedowns and landed just 4 over 6 fights. Now, when Lee fought him, he used a lot of pressure and pace to overwhelm him, eventually submitted him on the mat. But again, we showed Trinaldo only needs one opportunity to land, he can do damage. Now, Vick is a fighter who's continuing to improve and impress. He's well-rounded, he is exceptionally big and long for the division. He's got a lot to offer. His last 2 fights, they've really showcased his power in his development. He's developing a nice complement of skills to go along with that power. He throws, his movement is very nice. He uses that reach, and his output has increased significantly. And it's a lot to overcome when he's bouncing around in there, snapping that jab out there, landing long straight punches, and you just can't reach him. And now he's got power going with it. Ooh, that's a tough combination. Now, he has been a bit hittable in the past. We did see him get taken out by Beneil Dariush with several big shots. I believe there are a sequence of right hands that eventually put him down. I could be wrong, but I'm going to go with the right side. When he fought Duffy, he overcame a bit of a tough start, was a little bit slow, won a technical striking battle with Joseph Duffy. That's not easy. Knocked him out. He used a nice jab, his kicks, eventually an uppercut that he threw several times before landing it for the victory. Now, Vick's not a huge takedown guy, but those long limbs make him a massive threat. Once they hit the ground, he can start locking up submissions. And if you shoot for a takedown on him and he can sprawl and get his hips back, look for him to start locking up chokes. That's something a lot of guys don't expect from him, and he's very capable of. Now, against Trinaldo, he could use a clinch-heavy attack to try and slow Trinaldo down, take the fight to the ground for some ground-and-pounder submission. But Trinaldo ultimately tends to swing very wild and very wide. And I think Vick's longer, straighter, more technical punches will routinely beat him to the punch early in the fight. And as the fight goes, we'll see Trinaldo's energy meter start to go down, and Vick will still be holding on to his and pumping away. Vick has to be careful with the power. He can't exchange, can't let Trinaldo land a big shot on him. I think in this fight, Vick can finish him early with a submission or a knockout. He can finish him late with exhaustion or damage, or he can take a decision victory. All avenues of victory are open here for James Vick, and my prediction is James Vick to defeat Francisco Trinaldo by TKO. In the co-main event of the evening, we've got a big old heavyweight throwdown. We got a heavyweight showdown as the 7th-ranked fighter in the division, Derrick, the Black Beast Lewis, 18-5-0 with 1 no contest, takes on the 9th-ranked fighter, Marcin Tybura, with a current record of 16 wins and 3 losses. Of course, Tybura fighting out of Poland. Lewis, a Texas native, getting a lot of accolades for his efforts during the flooding that took place. Now, both fighters are still considered prospects, but I would say they're in different spots. Tybura had won 3 fights in a row, including a victory over Andrei Arlovsky, but he lost a very competitive 5-round fight with former champion Fabricio Verdum. Verdum won the fight fairly clearly by Tybura. It's good experience. He was in there. He held his own for as long as he could. For Lewis, he had won 6 consecutive fights, 5 of 6 by stoppage. Pretty big wins, Travis Brown, Roy Nelson, but he lost a very bad and very telling fight to Mark Hunt. The type of loss that makes you go back and look at that 6-fight losing streak and you start to poke some holes in it. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Both guys are 6'3". Lewis should come in 9 to 10 pounds heavier. He will have a 1-inch reach advantage. They are roughly the same age. Now, Lewis is an absolute monster from top position. There's no denying it. But has he been found out? Has he hit a ceiling? Is he no longer improving? Do guys know how to defend him now? It's a big question. Nelson, you know, when you look back at his performances, that Nelson fight could have and probably should have been a loss. Yes, he landed some big shots. All Nelson did was land takedowns and lie on top of him. It was a debate, but it wasn't a good performance by Lewis, even though he got the win. The Shamil Abdurrahimov fight, Abdurrahimov was beating him up until Lewis eventually landed a takedown and took him out, and it was a very pedestrian, very shitty fight. Travis Brown, who I picked to beat Lewis, won that first round, had Lewis hurt, had him in a lot of trouble. Eventually, Brown faded, Lewis rallied, and took him out, which was a very disappointing effort on Brown's part. Then you lump in the Mark Hunt fight. Hunt didn't do anything special in that fight. Lewis just looked very terrible. As the fight progressed, he got worse and worse. Some people say he had a back injury. His cardio obviously has always been a question mark. He kind of partially retired after that fight, actually. And for his marriage, he obviously came back. But you wonder what the focus the guy has when that's where his mentality's at, where it's, you know, it's just, I'm done. No, well, no, I'm not. This is what I'm doing. I'm not sure. I like Derrick Lewis, but that's a tough thing to swallow as a fan. Now, Tybura, he's the fighter who's getting better. He has fought 8 rounds with 2 former champions in his last 2 fights. 3 with Arlovsky, 5 with Verdum. That's a great growing and learning experience for a young fighter. When you look at, and that's in comparison to Lewis, who put some performances together that haven't been that great. The key to beating Lewis, or key for Lewis to win this fight, has been get a takedown, get top position, start landing ground and pound, finish the fight. He carries his power very deep into fights, but throws mostly single strikes in the feed, becomes far less capable of getting the fight to the floor as the fight advances. You know, either his cardio gives out or his back seems to tighten up a little bit, and you can really see it limits his movement. And that was the issue in his last fight. He had to pull out because his back was bothering him. He was supposed to fight Verdum, and that didn't happen. And it's just, there's a lot of questions around this guy. There's some anxiety issues as well with Derrick Lewis and his preparation for the fight. Now, physically, Tybura, 3.9 strikes, significant strikes landed per minute. He landed 127 against Verdum. That's a good performance despite the loss. I give credit to him. And he also, we'll talk about his takedown defense, which showed up in that fight as well. His striking's improving. He throws lots of kicks, front kick to the face, body kick as well, decent right hand, chopping motion at times, which, again, things get a little bit sloppy as guys get tired. That's where you see that happen more often than not. He'll work in a left jab. He throws a short left hand as well, come with an overhand right behind it. He will lead with his hard left hand. He's a little bit loose with his punching techniques at times, but he's getting better. He stays active, which was, you know, crucial. And Andrei Arlovsky had some success in the feet against the guy, no denying there. When he took out Victor Pasta, it was a thing of beauty. He threw it a quick 1-2 and then finished with a head kick for the KO. Very impressive. He can do damage with his knees. He threw a nice stepping right knee from distance. He disguised a front kick as well, which I like that. And sometimes if you're not sure what's coming, that front kick of that knee, it's hard to gauge and defend against. You know, if he opts to try to take the fight to the mat, which is certainly a possibility, look for him to do it from the clinch. He'll use a lot of clinch takedowns. He took Arlovsky down, kept him there with a nice trip takedown against Luis Henrique, had similar success, finished him from top position because the Brazilian got exhausted. Now, we have seen some fights where fighters, Tim Johnson controlled him in the clinch, Henrique controlled him in the clinch, decent takedown defense for Tybura overall, but he has been taken on a couple of times. Verdum, 7 takedown attempts, just 1 successful completion, and obviously Tybura survived it. The concern still exists. If Lewis gets on top, especially early, he could finish this fight. It's only a 3-round fight. He'll probably go for it a little bit more. Tybura needs to avoid letting Lewis close the distance on him. He needs to stay at range a little bit, especially early on. Circle away, land his kicks, get him tired, make him chase, and look for Tybura possibly in the second half of this fight to go for some takedowns and put Lewis on his back, wear him out. He needs to be careful, though, because Lewis is known for defending and turning those takedowns, turning his takedown defense into offense. But my prediction is Marcin Tybura to defeat Derrick Lewis by decision. In the main event of the evening, we're in the UFC's welterweight division. Is the 11th ranked former lightweight title challenger Donald the Cowboy Cerrone, 32 wins, 10 losses, and 1 no contest, takes on Hawaii's own Yancy Medeiros with a current record of 15 wins, 4 losses, and a single no contest. Now, these fighters are heading in vastly different directions. Cerrone did look good at the start of his welterweight run. Not so much now. Well, Medeiros is doing very well. He's in a different spot. He was where Cerrone was when he first came up from lightweight. We'll see if that continues. Cerrone thought he was going back. I thought he was going back to lightweight. I thought he mentioned he was going back to lightweight. I guess not. Now, you look at who he's lost to in his last 3 fights. Former champion Robbie Lawler. One of the top guys in the division, most underrated guys in Jorge Masvidal. And a very, hyped rising prospect in Darren Till. A very big fucking Derrick Till. That guy's a monster. Now, Medeiros, he's coming in having sub Sean Spencer, TKO'd Eric Silva, and TKO'd Alex Oliveira. That last one's impressive. Oliveira's a tough cookie. But he was in trouble in a couple of those fights, especially the Oliveira fight. All of them were wars, especially the last 2. And you wonder at what point does that style catch up to him. Certainly seems to be catching up to Donald Cerrone right now. Physically, Cowboy 2 inch taller, 2 inch reach advantage for Yancy. Medeiros is the younger man by 4 years. Now looking at Yancy first, he is much better when he's moving forward, holding the center of the cage. He was counter-striking against Oliveira, and that wasn't working out so well for him. He pops out his left jab. He'll step in with a left jab and right hook combination. He throws some nice body kicks as well. He needs to stay at range, though, not get too close. And that's going to be difficult against a guy who's got a lot of range weapons like Cowboy Cerrone does. Pardon me. Gosh, I'm having trouble tonight. Now, in that matchup, we saw Medeiros, get clip Eric Silva with the right hand and then absolutely crack him with a massive left hook that put him down. Now, there is a lot of arguments to be made that was a quick stoppage because Eric Silva went down, but he looked like he had his full faculties about him. He was fighting his way back up, and the ref jumped in prematurely. And arguably, prior to that, I thought Oliveira was losing the fight. Eric Silva was outworking him, looking pretty good until that big finishing blow. He was Medeiros was taking a lot of damage in that matchup to the lead leg, not checking Silva's kicks. And, that you also got hurt to the body. And he can be hurt to the body as well. So his kicks and his willingness to take kicks is going to can cost him. His body's also vulnerable. And again, like John Danaher said in his thing, why ignore part of the body? Attack the whole thing. And that's what Cerrone's capable of, and Medeiros certainly seems vulnerable to. When Alex Oliveira fought him, Oliveira was really pressuring him. Dropped him with a straight left. Also hurt with the right hand. There were multiple times where we saw Oliveira in trouble in that matchup. And before he eventually rallied and got the finish. Now, Cowboy Cerrone tends to be a bit of a slow starter, and that's a major concern. He's not nearly as good when he gets backed up. When he fought Till, he got blitzed against the cage, got cracked with a brutal elbow that put him down eventually. Masvidal took him out with a flurry along the cage before, and these are always guys who are pushing forward. Alvarez had success. Nate Diaz had success way back in the day. RDA being very aggressive, pushing forward. They all had success. And you start to wonder, is too much fighting, too much extreme lifestyle taking its toll on Cowboy? His durability has certainly been an issue. He can be hurt to the body. He had that motorcycle accident that certainly, took away from his durability. Where's he at as far as that is concerned? Now, when he's at his best, his Muay Thai striking is fantastic. Hard kicks, combination striker, dangerous at range, dangerous in close. He'll throw hard knees, a push kick. He'll go to the low. He'll go to the mid-range. He'll go high kick as well. He sets up his strikes by targeting other areas and forcing his fighters to defend. I love that way of doing things. His speed and variety are his keys to success. You don't know what's coming next. He'll throw a low kick, then he'll attack the body. He'll go high with his kicks, I said. Again, quick punches, quick combinations. He does a lot. He could use takedowns in this fight. He's a very capable submission fighter, an underrated wrestler. He has good timing on his takedowns, especially if his opponent starts to push forward. Boom, change levels, put him on the back. That could do enough to slow down and take away Medeiros' willingness to push forward. I think Cerrone's going to have a speed advantage in this fight. Yancy has had issues getting hit in the aftermath of his strikes. He tends to be a little bit slow retracting his offense and getting back to defense. Medeiros needs to move forward, constantly attack, back Cerrone up, but that's going to put him directly in an area that he's going to get hit. Yancy was losing both fights against Oliveira and Eric Silva. That style will eventually catch up to you. Look for Cerrone to target the body with knees and kicks, hurt him there, eventually finish a guy who's a little bit chinny and can be put down, and Cerrone's a sniper. Cerrone's the type of guy, if you can be hurt and he can hurt you, you're in trouble. My prediction is Donald Cowboy Cerrone to get back in the winning track and defeat Yancy Medeiros by knockout. So those are my 6 main card predictions for UFC Fight Night 126. We are rolling heading into this card. All of my preliminary picks will be available at kamikazeoverdrive.net, along with my incredibly successful bet packs that have been kicking ass this year, certainly worth looking into. It's been a fun card. Again, check me out on Twitter. I try to post as much as I possibly can. Should be an interesting Sunday night. Looking forward to just kind of cruising, relaxing, and watching some guys beat the ever-living crap out of each other. Always exciting. And on that note, I'll say good night. We got a lot of work to get to in a very short period of time. Take care, folks. Talk to you soon. Hi.